effort together, you become very good friends. And Struan, among different responsibilities in the parliament, was the chairman of the delegation of the European Parliament for Iraq. So he is very knowledgeable about this country and its problems. We have also with us Jean-Sylvestre Montgrenier. Jean-Sylvestre, il est chercheur à l'Institut français de géopolitique et membre de l'Institut Thomas More. Je crois que c'est la deuxième fois que j'ai le plaisir d'être avec vous ici. Merci beaucoup. Then we have Michael Pregen, who is an analyst at the Hudson Institute, specialized in Middle East. And we have the former Prime Minister of Algeria, Sidi Ahmed Ghazali, another very good friend and a great supporter of the Iranian resistance and a long-day fighter for democratic change and freedom in Iran. So, this is the panel. I think we couldn't have a better panel than this. So, we'll start discuss among ourselves, and also the floor can make questions. So, I give the floor first to Adám.
Well, thank you, sir, and it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you to NCRI and PMOI and all the folks who organize this great event. I think it's important that we all come together once a year to, I don't know, ask the big questions, think the big thoughts, and actually sort of mobilize for action. So I will try to keep my remarks brief in order to be able to have questions, and number one. Number two, what I really want to focus on actually is less theory and more practice, in the sense that I'd like the outcome of this, or I would hope the outcome of this can be sort of a program of action, not just this panel, but the conference, a program of action. So I'm going to speak from the perspective of someone who's served on the front lines of the war with Iran. And those front lines include, I guess, three. They include Bahrain, which I like to, and if there's a shift in that fault line, it has reverberations throughout the region. Bahrain is that fault line. So that's the front line number one. Front line number two, I served in Iraq for many years, particularly during the time that I think General Keane was talking about, when EFPs, explosively formed projectiles, were so lethally used against U.S. forces, and during which time we had almost broken the back of Saeb al-Haq and some of the other more lethal militias, only to have all the bad guys let out of jail after we left. The third front line, frankly, was the podium at the State Department, where I would do live briefings defending U.S. policy. And even though that's in Washington, the reason I call it the front line is because, let's not forget, we're also in an information war with Iran, and they are very, very good at it. Much better than we are, frankly. So what are the lessons learned, if you will, from being on the front line of the war with Iran? Number one, they're incredibly patient, and they're incredibly opportunistic. I think it's a truism to say that they look at events and history in terms of hundreds, if not thousands of years. We in the United States look at it in terms of electoral cycles. And those are two very different timelines that, frankly, I think works to Iran's advantage. So that's one lesson learned. They have different timelines. Lesson learned number 2 is different timelines. Opportunistic. Number 2, and they use time to their advantage. Number 2, incredibly asymmetric. Look, these guys are master tacticians. You know that better than I. They recognize that confronting a superpower or superpowers is impossible and doomed to failure. So they fight asymmetrically. In other words, using their weaker forces to tactical advantage. And the Exhibit A is Hezbollah, the Iraqi militias, the Houthis. In other words, training and developing and building proxy forces to actually wage war on their behalf and expand their influence and advance their agenda. And then the final lesson learned, frankly, is, it's interesting. I do not dispute the notion that Iran is a hegemonistic and aggressive power. But I think it's also worth pointing out that a lot of Iranian regime, and I should qualify when I say Iranian, I'm really talking about the regime. A lot of regime behavior is based on a sense of being vulnerable and being on the defensive as opposed to the offensive. And you can look at a lot of their actions that seem some to be aggressive as actually defensive. For example, the land bridge. For example, Damascus being more important to them than Baghdad, because they've said if Damascus falls, Tehran falls. For them, the fight for Syria is a fight for the homeland, not a foreign adventure, like many others have described it. So where does that take us? Let me talk a little bit. I'm going to make 2 points and then turn it over to the moderator. Point number 1 is, having seen this conflict from up close in the Gulf, I'm disappointed and concerned in the sense that when President Trump went to Riyadh, it seemed to many observers that the noose around Khamenei's neck was tightening. That the bad old days of Obama had gone. We had a president who recognized the danger that Iran represented to the region and the world and the United States, and that he was determined to work with our Sunni allies to do something about it. That was all true. And that was great. And we were kind of on a roll for just a couple of days until Saudi Arabia and Bahrain and the UAE and Egypt decided that enemy number 1 was not Iran, but Qatar. What in the world? Are you kidding me? So now, the noose that was around Khamenei's neck just taken off. And, my concern is that that's a situation that is not going to change. Because